So I don't know if any of you ever experienced this, but there was a time period where Lyft actually tried food for a little bit. I tried it once. It wasn't worth the dollars, but I did see this article. I have not read it yet. Lyft CEO says he won't enter food delivery like Uber and that it keeps people homebound. Loneliness is a killer. Lyft commands 30 something percent of the US rideshare market. Uber dominates the rest. Lyft is solely focused on ride sharing in North America, while Uber operates abroad and offers services like food delivery and freight. Lyft still loses a lot of money, but Uber is now at long last profitable. So it is true, in like the last 2 or 3 quarters, Uber has finally posted profits, but don't let those like headlines confuse you. Uber was receiving money from investors and they were intentionally operating at a loss. So they knew they had this money. They said, let's keep reinvesting it. And then once those investors said, all right, the money's not going to come in as much as it used to, due to what was perceived as a oncoming recession. There's a lot of firing and things happening, like rebounding from the pandemic. That's when Uber said, okay, now we need to actually run our business like it's a business. And they started doing layoffs and they got their numbers in line. They started probably taking some money from drivers and they finally became profitable. So I don't want you feeling sorry, like, oh my God, Uber's for the first time not being profitable now. That's always the game plan. You know, Amazon was unprofitable for 10 years while they were reinvesting into themselves. Most big companies, if they're like at the top of their industry, they can become profitable when they choose to be. It's just a matter of making the decisions to do that. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. Despite Lyft's position on a distant number two, CEO David Risher tells Fortune that the company could eventually become profitable by doubling down on the ride-sharing experience for both drivers and passengers. That's hard. There are three people involved: the rideshare company, driver, passenger. It's hard to service all of them. But when you do food delivery, it becomes four people involved. You know, the restaurant, the company Uber, the driver, and then the person who receives the food. The customer, that's what they're called. I'm running a rideshare business with a single-minded focus on getting people to where they want to go, says Risher, who took the reins last April and whose resume includes senior jobs at Microsoft and Amazon, reporting directly to founder Jeff Bezos. When he became CEO, replacing Lyft founder Logan Green, Risher was charged with solving the company's eroding market share, low employee morale, and a sense that Lyft was unable to counter Uber's supremacy. These problems not only spurred investor discontent, but led to the C-suite departure of the company's two co-founders, Green and John Zimmer, though they remain on the board. In his first year, Risher cut 30% of Lyft's workforce, introduced new features like one that matches women passengers and women drivers, and made returning to the office mandatory. He's also cut prices to better compete with Uber. You cut prices, you cut driver pay. I understand Women Connect is what this feature is called, that connects women with other women. It doesn't work 100% of the time. I don't know how it's legal. I think it's like 30% of drivers are women and like 50%, 50 to 60% of the passengers are women. So there's some disparity there. Women have more things to worry about. I'm not saying that I personally don't have I don't have issues with it. I just don't know how they get away with it from a legality perspective. I don't know how it doesn't fall under discrimination. Maybe I'm not smart enough in that area to know, but I don't have an issue with it. If you're a woman and you're in this chat, thank you for being here. Most of my subscribers are men. It's like 70% of them, and I appreciate you. But if you could leave a comment, if you tried Women Plus Connect, if it's available, that would be dope. I would love to hear some stories. There are green shoots to bolster Risher's case that Lyft is turning things around. Bookings on the Lyft app rose 15% last quarter, lifting revenue by 10% to 1.16 billion and dramatically shrinking its net, which fell from 422 million to 12 million. That's huge. I know that doesn't really have anything to do with Tristan's pockets, but that's huge. That's a big difference. Although Risher won't say when he thinks Lyft will be profitable, he maintains that Lyft won't chase Uber down every rabbit hole. As is, Uber has 9 times more revenue and market value. That's 26 times greater. I don't know how that math worked out, but I read it. Risher presses that he's just fine with a smaller but more nimble and competitive Lyft. We really need to nail it, and by that, I mean the basics, he says. I do like him as a CEO. He knows how to say the right things, and even though I do feel like pay is going down on both platforms, he has released some things that have helped. Like that stay within the area filter was huge, and he's actually out there driving, which could be PR stunt based, but I do believe that doing something will give you a different perspective than the theory of something. So I think everyone in both Lyft and Uber should be required to take like 5 rides a week. And I think that even if you're a coder whose job is to design the app, it's gonna make you rethink how you design it. So maybe you'll show online hours, But no, I'm glad Lyft isn't doing food delivery. I don't think food delivery is that great. I do think other companies there are already enough other companies that do it, and I'm happy with the separation there. I'm okay with that.